Okay, welcome back to the final module of HyperDoc. So get your tissue out because we're not going to see Lisa after this. But we're going to talk about, now that you are hooked on HyperDocs or even multimedia text sets, how and where do you begin? So Lisa's going to walk you through the places where you can get ideas and start the process of the HyperDoc.
The many different ways to do this and to start. I'm going to share my screen with you though, in order for you to see where you can really find great information. So this is our website, hyperdocs.co. And within this website, I am at the resources and I'm at templates. And this is a direction that, thanks to Carly Mora, she really got us into creating these templates, help scaffold the designing process for you. So I had mentioned that we have our large template, and that we call it the basic HyperDoc lesson. And I had said this earlier, that it is the same as Explore, Explain, Apply. It has additional pieces to it. It starts with the engage, and then it gets to share and reflect and extend. But you'll see at the heart of the lesson, Explore, Explain, Apply is right there in the center. And so all I did was, from the website, click on this template, and now I can access it. For you, it'll be view only. At this point, you go to File and make a copy, and you delete all of this, and you start building your lesson within each piece of the table. Get rid of the icon there, put in your own. You can change it up however you like. But you're beginning to think, how do I want to launch my lesson? How am I going to teach, have them explore a concept before I explain it? And we do give some hints in our templates on what to do in each of these pieces. But forgive me, Holly, I'm going to plug our book. Our book is based off of this template. And so for each of these categories, we provide multiple examples for how to build the Explore section, how to build the Explain section. That's why the book is called a handbook. It's all color-coded based around this template. The HyperDoc handbook goes into much more detail for those and gives you ideas.
And here it is, and exactly what she's saying. You just go to the section, and it has how would I do that. Lisa, can I point out that there's a bunch of people on this template, FYI?
Okay. Always. I love it. Every time I open it, there's a lot of people. It's so exciting. But, you know, I learned by mentor samples. And so we thought that was very important for you to see. So this is that same template, only I built a lesson in it. And I changed the color, and I took off those other icons. I do little subliminal things in my lessons because I'm weird that way with coloring, you know, that gets gradually darker through here. I keep thinking this will lead them to the flow of this lesson, anything to help my students visually make sense when they open this up and to draw them in. And so this is that same template, engage, explore, explain, apply, reflect, share, and extend, that you can imagine. Now, maybe you don't want to start from scratch. You want to start from my sample lesson because you like this flow better or this look. Make a copy of this one and take out these pieces and put in your own. That is our basic HyperDoc lesson design. Here's the one I've shared previously with your course. It is our smallest one, and kind of, if you were to start somewhere and not be too overwhelmed, I would start with this one. It has Explore, Explain, Apply. I'm going to share with you, this lesson was a 3rd grade lesson I did. We were doing animal reports. I was trying to put as few instructional words as possible on here and see if the kids could do it with just pictures and images. And I was trying to see, am I over teaching? And the answer was yes. The kids figured this out. It was incredible. It ended up to be a good lesson. But do you see how this is a copy of that original? I changed the colors of the headers. I changed the fonts, but it still has that Explore, Explain, Apply in there and that workflow. So thinking about this was a really kind of a different one where in this Explore, I wanted them to figure out, you know, how to make a thing link, but I wanted them to look at different examples of thing links. I didn't want to tell them that pick a good image because it's not going to look good on thing link otherwise. I wanted them to go and look at a bunch of samples and evaluate which ones do they think were powerful and had good images in them and were good to use, because sometimes the images are so small you can't see. What would you want to include in yours? So my exploration had expectation, and it was these guiding questions. So I included the guiding questions right there. The explain was right there, a tutorial. This is how you do a thing link. And your task is you're going to be creating your apply, you're going to be creating your animal report on ThingLink. And then that was the workflow. That is our basic smallest template. Science teachers, you know what I've been talking about this whole time because you're used to the 5 E's template, right? Rooted in scientific exploration. And so we took the 5 E's model on this template. Again, here's the blank, but I again want to show you the completed one. I'm not saying it has to be a science lesson, but it really fits really well with this. I love this lesson because it's just a little different format that we created the template. But, and of course, there we go. I like the visual clues on the left about what tool you're going to be using and about what is expected of you. I think we make sense right away of work when we can make meaning of it. And whether we're visual learners, how many times the kids don't read your instructions. So to know that this is the part where we're using Padlet, and this is the part we're using educreations and so on and so forth. That is our 5 E's model. Those of you who do Readers Writers Workshop, the Lucy Calkins instruction, this is a workshop model. And again, the difference is we've used the language for workshop model. So you see its connection, the teach and learn, the engagement activity, the independent application, and the share. And so changing those words out to get you to see the cycle of learning, it's very, very similar to the workshop model. And so, and again, on the final sample, the words were really changed. Totally words that did not have to do with workshop model language, and you're free to do that. But it's all about the content you plan and put into those sections for each of those. The last one we have is our hero's journey. A lot of teachers use this in their classrooms to teach with. I think it's a really fun template, the call to adventure, the entering the unknown. And this is a really great lesson. It's very long about that uses that. So you can always click into this one and see how did we do a lesson on solar energy using the hero's journey and all the little niches put through. All these examples are on Google Docs, and we in no way mean to limit you with Google Docs. You package for the reason that you want to. Sometimes I'll want to package a lesson on a slide deck because I've got a lot of video in my lesson and I don't want them going away from the lesson. I want it embedded right there. So that's a factor for me making decisions. I would suggest that you come here and try a template. You're free to though look at samples as well. Have some samples on here. We're always working to improve our website, so be patient with us. We have some surprises coming with that. But we do have some samples here by subject, and it's sometimes easy to go through. And sometimes I'm inspired this way. I will look at lessons like I'm shopping, and I'll see, oh, which one looks good? Which one? Wait for my images to show up. They're not pop. Oh, there they go. Did that change everything for you? As a visual learner, I'm like, oh, what's eye bombing, or what's a book bento? I need to see this one. And you just go, it's like incredible to be, and you can recognize there's one here. Do you recognize that original template? And here, there's the original extended template. But then there's all these different ones, and all for the taking. If your eyes are going wide now, thinking, I want that one, I want that one. Mm-hmm. But I implore you, this is really good too, this courage one. Open it, check the links. You file, make a copy, so it's in your drive. Check the links so that they don't go to the original author's work. If you like that lesson, you can have it, but do close read and see, am I meeting all my students' needs? Because you have different students than that teacher did. You're at a different place in your instruction. You don't know what was the purpose of that beforehand, during, or after. Lesson design is very personal, so take that time to go in and revise and edit to meet your needs. Something that's so important to us, though, is that you give the original author credit. And make sure that you leave their name on the HyperDoc. I know some people are linking their social media there. If you don't want your students linking to that social media, for your students, unlink it. But it's really nice to say, inspired by Holly Clark, remixed by Lisa Highfield. So you can use words like that. I think it's amazing for kids to see that. that you can be inspired by other people's work and create your own iteration of this. And if they ask, but be sure to put your name on your work. And that kind of draws me to my last place to find HyperDocs to get started, and that's Teachers Give Teachers. And at this point, we encourage you, if you're making HyperDocs, to give one and go ahead and turn it in. Now you have to be registered because we don't want a lot of spam in ours. So do register and log in. And the key to it is, in order to give one, you have to tag your lesson with as many tags as possible. So it's searchable. So we know how to find different lessons. Now, if you just want to take one, you can click on take one and you can search by keywords. I'm going to go by 4th grade because it's there. You can search by 4th grade. You can search by math, or you can search, I could have searched equivalent fractions and that tag would have come up. And so all of these lessons have been turned in by users all across the globe. It's very exciting. And as I'm looking at these, I'm like, oh, good lessons. Oh my gosh, that's a great one. Nowhere is there judgment in this. Like I said, sometimes I've heard people comment that they haven't seen a good HyperDoc lesson. And I think to myself, have you stopped and looked at the lesson design? Have you considered the potential in that skeleton of a lesson? And most importantly, what could you do to elevate that lesson to something that you feel is of value? And can you get started? That's the real question, because of lesson design being so personal.
I know, Lisa, for me, I started with the first template that you showed, and I just sat there and tried to fill it in. And then at some point, and I did that like 5 times, and then at some point I went into Teachers Give Teachers and I put in something like The Outsiders because we were reading that. And I found someone, so I have to be honest with you, I didn't give judgment, I didn't do whatever. I took their color scheme and made my own. Like, I didn't even really care what they were doing, but I just didn't want to make all of the background and the table parts. I just wanted the color scheme.
Right. And you saw that in my drive. It's kind of my favorite thing, is to see our template look so differently, but I can see it in there. You know, I could see it in these different lessons. So it's kind of cool. Sometimes they change things, sometimes they don't. And it's kind of fun to watch. You bring your design and your purpose to it. So yeah, it's a great way to do it.
Well, this is fantastic. I hope that these modules have helped you to rethink HyperDocs. And I want to just say, or rethink how you might use a Google Doc for lesson design. And I just want to say that there is some work on the front end. Like with the proportional reasoning, that one is a little easier to construct because it was a smaller one kind of thing lesson. Some people do complete units in a HyperDoc, and that is okay too. But just be prepared for a little work on the front end that will pay off in dividends for student engagement and student-centered learning if you put in that time.
You know, I'm going to add to this, Holly, because we didn't realize this when we first started this. You know, it is a big ask of you to take that time to do lesson study and lesson design. And the big aha we've had from watching teachers do this. So now that I'm coaching teachers, they're my students. I watch them as learners, and the excitement and energy that they're bringing to their lessons. At the end of it, they go, I'm so excited. I can't wait to try this lesson out with my students. It brings out the creativity in you, and it kind of fuels you with this new energy to do this job. And I think that's an outcome that you only can experience when you put yourself into the work of it, and that gratification. But do know that the first time you teach a HyperDoc and they're like, this is dumb, you're kind of crushed, and you know, like, we're going to do it again, because they do come around. It's that, you know, we need to change our students as learners as well.
And that's what happened to me the first time I did one, is they were like, what do we do with this? What happens? Because I was team teaching with someone who had been unzipping their head and putting in knowledge. And I was coming with this new kind of design, and they needed to be also taught to become learners and not consumers.
Yeah. You know, the kids don't know how to explore. They're like, what do you mean? How many points is that worth?
Yeah.
And so it's breaking that cycle and stop feeding the beast, because they're only doing what we told them to do. And so by changing up this cycle of learning once in a while, sometimes the best was the student said, oh, just give me the worksheet, and I love that. I'm like, oh, we got you, you're thinking today, or, my brain hurts. I didn't really think, because they have to actively engage. And that's really, eventually they come around, because who doesn't want to be engaged in a classroom instead of they're used to that, a little more passive learning sometimes in the classroom. And so to liven that up, change it up every once in a while.
My best example comes from Kristen Wydeen. She writes an article about how when she had technology in her classroom, her kids said, Miss Wydeen, can you please just give us worksheets? And she's like, oh my God, I thought I was doing this great units, and now they're asking me for worksheets. Like, maybe I was wrong. They don't like this. And so she said to them, why do you want the worksheets? And they said, because we don't have to work as hard.
Yeah.
And to your point. Anyway, thank you for your time, Lisa. It's been a lot of time, and kudos to you. And I can't wait to watch what you do on Twitter, your Facebook group, and anxiously awaiting another book, I hope. But anyway, thank you, and goodbye, everyone.